This is the Linear Algebra Lectures video series. You can find more information about this video as well as a link to the written textbook in the description below. Stick around to the end of the video to learn more about this video series and the associated teaching and learning tools I've created for it. Lecture 3. What is echelon form? Our objectives for this lecture are to understand the definitions of echelon form and reduced echelon form, and, given a matrix, identify whether the matrix is in echelon form, reduced echelon form, or neither. So when we learned about the elimination method in the previous lecture, we mentioned that the goal is to use row operations to put a matrix into triangular form. What that meant was we want to have a system where we only have x1 appearing in the first equation and not appearing in any of the other equations. And we want x2 appearing in the first two equations and not in the remaining equations, etc. So this is going to give us a pattern where we have numbers going down to the right with zeros below them. We want to make that idea precise in this lecture, and that will turn out to be what we call echelon form. In the next 3 lectures, we'll learn first what is echelon form. In lecture 4, we'll learn how we use row operations to get matrices into echelon form. And in lecture 5, we'll learn why we're doing all of this and how this relates to finding solutions of systems of equations. Echelon is a military term that's used to describe a particular formation. Here we see planes flying in echelon form, and what that means is that each plane is behind and to the left or to the right of the plane in front of it. This creates a diagonal pattern that's similar to the pattern that we're going to see in our matrices. Before we can get to the definition of echelon form, we need to understand what a leading entry is. So a leading entry is the first non-zero entry in a row as we go from left to right. So for example, let's try to find the leading entries of this matrix. In the first row, the leading entry is all the way to the right. That 8 that we see highlighted there is the leading entry of the first row. In the second row, we get the leading entry right away. It's all the way to the left. That -1 that I have highlighted is the leading entry of the second row. Notice that the third row is all zeros, which means that that row has no leading entry. And then finally, in the fourth row, the leading entry is the 3 that we have highlighted in the third position. Now we can define echelon form. So echelon form is defined in terms of 3 conditions. The 3 conditions are, number 1, any rows of all zeros have to be below any other rows, or in other words, all of the rows of all zeros, if there even are any, would have to be at the bottom of the matrix. Condition 2 says that each leading entry of a row is in a column that's to the right of the leading entry in the row above it. And then condition 3 says that all entries in a column below a leading entry must be zeros. Let's take a look at this matrix again and understand whether or not it's in echelon form by examining the 3 conditions. For condition 1, we see that this condition is not satisfied because we have a row of all zeros, but it's not below any other rows. Now this would already be enough to tell us that this matrix is not in echelon form, because echelon form means that all 3 conditions are satisfied, and we've just determined that the first condition is not satisfied. However, let's consider the other 2 conditions anyway to try to help us understand them better. For condition 2, we need to check whether the leading entry of each row is in a column that's to the right of the leading entry and the row above it. So we've identified the leading entries as we did before, but we notice that the leading entry in row number 2 is to the left of the leading entry in row number 1, which means that, again, condition 2 is not satisfied. Finally, for condition 3, we look at the entries in our matrix that are below all of the leading entries, and we notice that the leading entry in the first row, which was that 8 there, has a 6 below it, which means that condition 3 is not satisfied because we have a leading entry with a non-zero entry below it. So in this case, none of the conditions are satisfied for our matrix, so it's not in echelon form. Let's try another example. So again, we're looking at this matrix and trying to figure out, is this matrix in echelon form? First, we look for rows of all zeros. We do have a row of all zeros here, but this time it is at the bottom of our matrix, and so condition 1 is satisfied. But that's not enough to tell us whether the matrix is in echelon form. We need to check all of the conditions and show that they're all satisfied in order to conclude that the matrix is in echelon form. Now let's look at condition 2. Remember, condition 2 says that our leading entries need to go down and to the right, and in this case we highlight our leading entries and see that that is in fact true. Finally, for condition 3, we look at all of our leading entries, and we look at the entries in our matrix below those entries and make sure that they're all zeros, and in this case that works out. So this matrix satisfies all 3 conditions, so this matrix is in echelon form. Let's say a few more words about these conditions. If we look at condition number 1, it states that any rows of all zeros are below any other rows. And so we need to locate any rows of all zeros that we might have in our matrix and make sure that they're at the bottom of our matrix. But what if there aren't any rows of all zeros? Well, in that case, this condition is still true in a way that we call vacuously true. Or in other words, there's nothing to check, so the condition can't be violated. So if you don't have any rows of all zeros, then condition number 1 is true. You might also have noticed that if you think about conditions number 1 and number 2, if those are both satisfied, then condition number 3 is automatically satisfied. If our leading entries go down and to the right, and any rows of all zeros are at the bottom, we're going to have that any entries below our leading entries are all zeros. However, condition 3 gives us a visual way to think about what's going on with echelon form, and so it's still useful to keep that condition around to help us understand what echelon form is. Now, echelon form is the precise definition of that triangular form that we were working towards in the previous lecture, but there's another form that can be useful for us called reduced echelon. As we'll see in a future lecture, reduced echelon form will make it even easier to figure out the solutions of the corresponding system of linear equations. All right, so what's reduced echelon form? Well, again, we have conditions, and in this case we have 5 conditions, the first 3 of which are the same conditions that we use for echelon form. Condition 4 says that the leading entry of each row has to be 1, not just a non-zero entry, but exactly the number 1. And condition 5 says that each leading entry has to be the only non-zero entry in its column. Or in other words, our leading entries have to have zeros below and above them in our matrix. So notice that condition number 5 includes condition number 3. Condition number 3 says that you have to have zeros below your leading entries, and condition number 5 says that you have to have zeros below and above those leading entries. But it's still useful to keep condition number 3 around because sometimes a matrix will be in echelon form but not reduced echelon form. So we're going to keep those as 2 separate conditions. All right, let's look at another matrix. So in this matrix, are the conditions satisfied? Is this matrix in reduced echelon form? For condition number 1, we look for rows of zeros and make sure that they are at the bottom. In this case, they are. Let's look at conditions number 2 and 4 at the same time. We're looking at our leading entries and making sure that they go down and to the right, and also that those leading entries are all the number 1, and those 2 conditions are satisfied here. And then finally, let's think about conditions 3 and 5. Condition 3 tells us to look for zeros below our leading entries. Condition 5 tells us to look for zeros above and below our leading entries. And in this case, this condition is satisfied. Notice that the first leading entry has no entries above it, but just like the condition that we talked about earlier, that means that this condition is satisfied. If you don't have any entries above a leading entry, then there's nothing to check, and so all of those entries would have to be 0. So now that we understand echelon form and reduced echelon form, we have 2 main tasks ahead of us. We need to understand how to use the row operations that we discussed earlier to put a matrix into echelon form or reduced echelon form. And then in the following lecture, we'll learn how to use that form to understand the solutions of the corresponding system of linear equations. Thanks for watching this video lecture. You can find links to the other videos in this series and to the written textbook in the description below. If you're an instructor, you can contact me for more information about the over 300 online linear algebra homework problems that I've created for the free My Open Math platform.